Bingo. Okay. Hello, everybody. Uh, I'm Karen, and this is Conversations with Karen. And I have a very special person on this week from Glendora, California, Katy Ingersoll. I first met Katy in a depossession workshop up in outside of Portland, Oregon. And she and her roommate were next door to me. And so we would get together at night. All of us were exhausted, but we would just sit up late talking about the class we had just participated in, et cetera, et cetera. She is a brilliant practitioner, has a loving ministry in Glendora. And so I want to introduce Katy. And Katy, just tell us about yourself. How did you get involved with shamanism?
Well, first of all, I want to say good morning to everyone, and I would like to wish everyone a happy Earth Day. And this is also the new moon in Taurus, so I encourage everyone to do some kind of ceremony today, whether it just be lighting a candle and being grateful for what we have and for what we're learning in this new East direction of ours. Um,
Katy,
how do I get?
when you say new east direction, what are you referring to? How does that where is that coming from?
Well, I look at the directions. We pretty well know that the east, west, north, south, but the cycles continue to go around and around as the seasons. So I've had many of my students say, well, once you've been through it once or twice, what are you going to learn? And so I now state this new east direction or the new south, because that's a change that we find ourselves in. And even as a small child, even though I am a spring child, I always had difficulty going from winter to spring. And so when I began shamanism, which was really for my own healing, and then went on to teach. And so I'm a student-teacher kind of thing. And when we talk about rhythms and harmony and balance, and so for me, I really need to reconnect with the East direction, which is that rebirth, which is that illumination of the sun coming in, of the light energy coming in. That change for me in the seasons is that is a difficult time for me. I'm an introvert, so I really love the winter months. So that's what I mean by new, because for instance, this direction that we find ourselves in, this east direction, we have we have the coronavirus. We've found ourselves in a situation that is like no other. And so how do we harmonize with that? How do we get into rhythm with that? Because if we look at the trees, if you're in nature and you look at your trees, which I'm very fortunate, I have a nice yard, and so I'm out there every day. I look and I think and I speak to them, and they just go with the flow. We as humans do not go with the flow. We have a lot of fear, we have a lot of want to control and that kind of thing. So how do we get into rhythm with that? How do we find that new rhythm? Because each season, even though it is different, each cycle of each year is different. And so that's what I mean by new.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Because I was not clear on that. Thank you.
Okay.
So anyway, um, are you finding with the stay-at-home directives? I know California really shut down very early.
Correct.
Um, how are your students doing with that? Are you finding, you know,
Well, I had been teaching. My schedule for the last 7 years have been really, I mean, I've been working far more than 40, maybe like 80 hours a week.
mhm,
And so, because I don't only teach, but I hold ceremonies, I hold prayer groups, and so, you think, oh, it's just one more thing a week, till it's something almost every day. And then
right.
I do have a practice, a healing practice too.
Mhm,
So I sort of was burning candles at both ends. So I was going to take 3 months off, and I had told all my students that I do a monthly newsletter to about 150 people, and they knew all of that. But when this came, personally for me, I found it a freedom in it. It was something I personally really needed, and it allowed me to go deep within my inner work. As
yeah.
teachers, as leaders in the community, sometimes we don't have the opportunity to go as deep as we would like to go with our work.
Yeah.
And so I have actually really enjoyed this.
I was sitting out yesterday, and we are right under a major airline corridor into Los Angeles. You know, we're only five
Oh,
hours away.
yeah,
And I was sitting out there looking at the sky. One, we haven't had chemtrails in a little while, so that's kind of nice.
right.
But just the clarity of the sky, and there was no planes going overhead. And usually there's one every, few minutes, And I just really started really looking at the landscape. We sit up, our house is on a hill, and so we have a good view of Golden Valley, Arizona.
Mm,
And it just really impressed me how clear everything is right now. And I started, when was the last time consistently that it was this clear? And it's been years, just years. And so I have to agree with you. It's been a real blessing in many ways. And I wonder, maybe if you've had any feedback on this, but other shamanic practitioners of people that are in the energetic healing work,
mhm.
um, maybe this is our time to really, really um, hone that contemplative skill, you know. Um, it, re, with the understanding of the tragedy of the coronavirus.
Right.
But in the midst of that, maybe this is an opportunity, for us to
Well,
really, yeah.
I am a person that tries to look for the opportunities um, in anything, maybe not at once, not maybe
Hmm.
at the very beginning, but once you find yourself in something that you're not happy about,
Hmm.
or painful situation, once you find yourself in there, then I and I've always found that, or in a difficult situation, then look to see what you can learn from it.
Hmm.
Part of it is so you won't find yourself there again, or
Yeah.
you won't go so deep, maybe like in depression, or
Right.
or find the good.
Yeah.
Where's the positive in all of this? How can I turn this around and make it a positive?
Yeah.
So when the virus came personally for me,
Hmm.
other than what you say, the whole, we have friends who are just hanging on to their businesses, very small businesses. I mean, there's a tragedy to all of this, but there's also um, I think for spiritual practitioners who've really been at it for a while, this provides us the opportunity of really doing our inner work and going deeper than we've allowed ourselves to go into those dimensions and vibrations and consciousness of ours. I'm not saying that is why the virus is here. I'm not even going to go there.
Nobody knows. Journey on it.
Yeah. So, but for me, that's how I've really spent my time. And it's really been good because I have gotten new teachers, meaning in the spirit world. I have changed my my thought process about some things with regard to this whole industry, if you want to call it that, the spiritual world and the way, you know, I certainly have changed my thoughts on things, and it's just become deeper. That's all.
Well, you know, we were talking the other day about your coming on this. Hi, Mushroom. When we we were talking a couple days ago about your coming on, you mentioned the 7 paths of initiation.
Right.
And between then and last night, I was thinking, I wonder if this whole situation globally that we're in is a form of initiation. And for us practitioners, being given really this opportunity to stop and get out of that frenetic, you know, wheel. Maybe this is also initiation for us too. That we're being called, like you said, we're being called to go deeper, and maybe this is part of that. What do you think of? What do you think?
I believe that's my belief. You know, again, I'm a pretty direct person, and so when the virus came here, I just went right to it. I mean, I just journeyed right to it. And I have some students going, "You did what?" You know, because anyway, but I do. I believe there's initiations, there's much for us to learn. I also believe that we don't have a clue on some of the words we use, like love, like compassion, like consciousness, dimensions, vibrations. I think those words hold so much more than just the tip of the iceberg of what we're talking about today. The paths, the sacred paths of initiation go along with the directions, the east, the east, the south, the west, the north, and then we have the above direction. That's the 5th. And then we have the below direction. That's the 6th. And we finally have the within.
Right.
The now.
Yes. Yes.
And so we're all, you know, there's only 24 hours in a day. And when we're preparing and working with people, and now I'm talking as a practitioner / teacher, we don't have the time that it takes to go that deep. You can't say, I'm going to sit here for a half hour. This is it. You know, let's go. Because in a half hour, it doesn't work that way. Yeah. So I think for us, but I also hope, and I'm going to have faith in that it's for our seedlings. I always think of myself as being a Sandra Ingerman seedling because she speaks in those terms.
Mm-hmm.
And I am definitely, you are too, one of her seedlings.
Yeah.
I've had the opportunity.
Actually, let me back up. I
Yes,
am a tree.
yes, you are.
I
That's
am no
true.
longer a seedling.
Yeah. And perhaps I'm a tree that grew.
There
Yes.
you go.
Very good. Yeah. And I've had the opportunity of meeting many of our global shamanic practitioners throughout the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really a wonderful global um, what am I trying to say? A meeting of minds.
Reality.
We don't
Yeah.
we don't all agree, but that's okay because most of us will hold that sacred space to listen to that view of a person, of why would you say that, or how do you think about this, and that's a good thing. That's how we should do with everything, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So,
With languaging too, what I've been hearing is referring to the pandemic as warfare, and how we have to defeat the enemy and all. I'm like, stop, stop. You know, Mushroom is on. He's a veteran of Vietnam, and he was in the Navy. Uh, and Mushroom, what do you? I'm just going to bring him in. And
yes.
what about languaging? Because, Katie, what you're saying is languaging is very, very important. And I couldn't agree more, you know.
Well, one of the things that we do in war is we completely try to get rid of any kind of humanity for whoever we label as the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
So we had gooks during the World War II. We had Jerry's or kikes, and then we had Japs. Anything that name that you can create to make it so that this is not anything like me or or definitely not a part of me. It is
Mm-hmm.
something completely different. So here we have this virus, which is an earthling, just like we are, uh, and it wants to live as much as we do, and it wants to find a host. Unfortunately, it finds us. So it's in a sense, it is a battle of who's going to occupy the body, who's going to take it over. But it doesn't have to be a battle out of cruelty and meanness. It could be one where you sit there and go, look, you know, we don't do well together. You got to go find someplace else.
Right, right. Well, Katie, is getting
That's
back to the seven
has.
paths to initiation, how is, well, I'll just let you finish that thread.
Well, um, let's go with um, the paths are inner. You don't just do one path and then the second path. They're all interchangeable energetically, and you may be walking two or three paths at the same time. Um, the fifth path is the above path, and that's where a little bit that I think we talked about the other day. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where you want heaven and earth. I'm going to use those two words. That's not what I don't mean heaven as,
Right.
let me use two different words, the seen and the unseen realms. And you want to bring them together. There comes a time as a if you choose to walk a shamanic path, that you begin to see dimensions. You begin to see different and feel different vibrations. And once you get to the fifth path, you've done your healing. I'm not saying you're through with it, but you've done that initial where you get the gunk out of the way and you can sort of breathe again, and you have you're not as fearful. You have more security. You have a little bit more self-worth. You catch yourself when you fall back into old paradigms or patterns. So you've sort of done a lot of clearing. I call that sort of like that clearing work you've done. So now what are you working on? I mean, what comes to you? Well, all of a sudden now you're going into the different arenas, much like when we journey to the lower world. Well, it's not just one world. There's many conscious dimensional states there. And where is that? It's not out here, it's within us. And so how do we matriculate when we're speaking to someone? And I really found this a lot when I was teaching, because I source when I teach.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would see these dimensions. I would sort of get off into my own, and then I'd realize, oh my gosh, I just talked for too long. But what was happening to me is I was in another world. I wasn't here, but I wasn't grounded either.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the beginning of a fifth path. That's when you begin to review everything you've learned, everything.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you throw out or you change. I don't know that you throw out. You begin to change. You begin to be more comfortable without listening to someone else, without having approval from someone else. Mm-hmm. You begin to bring them both here, both those seen and unseen. You can walk with one leg in this world and one leg or one foot in the seen arena and one foot in the unseen arena. And you can be and you actually must learn to be very present.
Yes.
And that goes along with really being in the east direction. The east direction wants you to be very present, not to think about too much of the past or the future, but really be present.
Yeah, the whole concept of mindfulness comes to mind.
Exactly. Exactly.
When you were talking about how we have a traditional understanding of the realms as somewhere out there, and what you're saying is they're within, that's a paradigm shift. And old paradigm shamanism, the shamans would go into a trance and then go somewhere. My phone is ringing. I'm just going to put it in the desk drawer and ignore it. There, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
But, it used to be in the old paradigm of duality, really.
Right.
That, when shamans would do their journeys, they would, they would prepare to go somewhere. And that's where they would go. And then they would come back with the information. But the new paradigm is basically what you're saying, is that those realms, there is no separation, they are within. And so we don't really go anywhere. We just access a different aspect of that reality of oneness.
And now I'm going to say that through our imagination, we go everywhere.
Yes.
Within ourselves.
But do you think that if we can imagine something, that means that it already exists?
Yes. Yeah. Or it's beginning. It may be the birth of it too.
Right. If anybody else wants to jump in on this conversation, just turn your video and your audio on, and those connections are at the lower left hand of your screen, the little microphone and little video camera. If you see a red slash, that means you're not on, but if you want to jump on. If you don't have video and you still want to jump on, just turn your microphone on and we'll see if we can find you. But join in. Yeah, join in. If you have any questions, If you have a personal question about a personal issue, whatever, I would really encourage you later on to contact Katie, and at nearer the end of the time today, I'll give you that connection information. It's also on shamanzoom.com. But if you have a question of just general of what we're talking about, or if you have a different idea and want to share that, please just jump in and sit around the table, and let's do that. But anyway, go ahead, Katie.
Well, you know, you asked me, I think you know who I've basically studied with, but since then I've studied with Bola Van
Mm-hmm.
Stola, who is, and he's become a good friend. He's a shamanic, he definitely is a shaman. He is a Nepalese, he's known as the Nepalese shaman.
Mm-hmm.
And prior to my uh, uh, studying with him and meeting him, I had already felt that it was really important to bring the ancestors in. And but the basis, some of the basis of the Nepalese shamanic way is they work with the ancestors all the time, all the time. And they work with their lineage ancestor, which is cleaning their lines, their who their mother and their father was. It's not so much about do you get along with them. It's not so much do you approve of what they did in their lives. It's more from a spiritual base and pattern based, because we are them and they are us. I mean, we wouldn't be here without them. So I wanted to put that out. He's very dear to my heart. So if anyone ever has an opportunity to study with him or to, you know, I would really, and if they weren't sure, please call me. I can, you know, he's a great, great person and a beautiful human being.
Katie, by chance, were you at the Society for Shamanic Practitioners gathering in Asilomar?
I was not able to attend.
He did Bola did an 8-stage healing that started at the cellular level and ended up at the planetary and cosmic level. It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
He is just a remarkable
Yes.
human being. Yeah.
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 I wanted
He's on Facebook if anybody's interested. Bola is Bhola Van Stola. Is that right?
Yes,
Vanstola.
Correct.
Yeah, he has a Facebook page. If you Google Bola, Bhola, he's there.
Yeah.
Just a beautiful person. Yeah.
He is. So coming back, you know, other than, and I don't like to use words, I don't know what other way to say the core shaman. I don't know what core, I don't know what's this or that, but there are different cultures in shamanism. I mean, Bola, the Nepalese are very different culturally on how we all, they journey the same and all of that, but it's just they work with different deities and it just different style. And my first style of shamanism was Peruvian and working with the Kero. And I think I come from a Catholic background, very Catholic. and I know, yes, I know. And so, and I don't know if you remember early on me talking to you about these things, because, but I think I resonated more with that at the Peruvian, because there was a lot of ceremony, and the ceremonies were really I could see they were from the old church, could be from the old church times. But as time went on, then I was introduced to first Betsy Bergstrom doing just basic middle world work. And then, of course, Sandra and that work. So as far as teaching my students, that's what I teach. I teach that style. I don't teach where I came from, sort of where my background began. But then it was purely by accident, and we all know there are no accidents. I bought this little book, and it sat on my shelf for about 2 years. Don't ask me why I bought it, but it just sat there.
The book is, yes.
And the book is by Jamie Sands.
Okay.
And Jamie's known for her spirit animal cards and very different. And I have my own thoughts on all of that. And I think it's all great and fun, but I think it's very, don't take it so seriously that it's for the moment and the moment can change. But anyway, we won't go into that. But she has a couple of books that, in my opinion, are Bibles. And that's when I learned about the clan mothers. And the 13 original clan mothers. That's one book. And then she has another book, and that's when I learned about the paths of initiation. And most people, it's pretty dense reading. I mean, it's not just la 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 kind of stuff. And most people don't even know about that book that she wrote. A lot of people may know about the 13 clan mothers, but over the period of years, when I would read the book, I would actually find myself journeying, and they would come to me and talk to me. And the book said, yes. Okay. So the book would say one thing, and I was getting so much more information than so I started keeping journals. And after about the 6th year, they were really pushing me to teach, to include those in my classes. So I did. And, I'm not, I still go back to her books because it's in there. I try not to put, I don't know why, and I don't really, for whatever reason, I really don't want to go there. But I believe it's her ancestors that are teaching me. Because when I read the book, again, that I've read, many, many times, I get so much more out of it.
Can you visit who the author is and the title of the book?
Yes, the author is Jamie Sands, and she is a Seneca, half Seneca. And her, is it Twyla? What is her? That is her aunt, and they co-wrote together the campfires. The campfires burn. I'm sorry, I can go over and get it. Those are, I just reread them over and over again, and I'm not, I'll read it, and then maybe I'll put it down, and 6 months later I'll reference something, and it's like, I don't remember ever getting this out of that. So, so over the period of years, this is sort of a long way of answering, and I apologize.
Okay.
I've given fire ceremonies.
We're all on lockdown. You just take your time.
I mean, I've done fire ceremonies monthly for at least the last 13 years. And this year I took off. I told everybody I'm taking off. Not going to do that this year. I will be doing one for myself this evening. And that's fun because I can feed my own, again, feed what my soul. But looks far woman is the clan mother for April.
Uh-huh.
And she is the great oracle or the great seer or the dreamer or the visionary. She's the one that if you want to go to the void and create, or sometimes in soul retrievals, we will find ourselves in the cave of children or the cave of souls, or in which could be in the void or wherever we go. And sometimes during soul retrievals, that's where we'll find the fragments of a soul. So this is a really wonderful woman to journey with and to have as an asset or an ally. She sort of stands at the golden, that door that allows us to go into many dimensions, vortexes. She allows us, and will, if that is a gift of yours, it happens to be a gift of mine, that I can open a vortex and hold it. And for years, I have been told about prayers. And I mean, there was no charge. And I had a group for about 7 years, and I put it on my website. I put it in my newsletter. Send your prayers. We'll do the work. We'll get back to you. You can do it anonymously, you know, all of the. And in the beginning, I had a lot, and I took the time to get back to people and all of that. And then they just stopped. So and my guides were saying, we're here and no one's asking. We have to ask as a society. The reason I bring that up today is the International Grandmothers, Grandmother Rita. Today, I was reading something off of hers because this is Earth Day, and she's talking about prayers. And when I was listening to that, I thought, she said, have we not prayed enough? And my guides have been, I mean, it's not just guides, it's that inner voice. It's that echo, that's that deepness that comes within, that we don't ask enough. We just either assume, or we don't think we're good enough for whatever it is that we're doing, but we just need to pray and ask for what we want. As I tell my students, I don't know, if you really want that Mercedes, then ask for it. I mean, don't be, if you really want something, you have to ask for it and do ceremony. You know, we live in a society that it's immediate gratification. And I bring in a lot of the medicine for the earth work there, that we have to transfigure and work with it. And it may take time, and it may take months, because timing, as we know, is very important. If we push it, if we don't wait for that right rhythm of things, then that can put a monkey wrench in the deal.
Yeah. In asking for what you want, the first thought that I had was, if I want a Harley Davidson, right?
Yeah.
And the big joke in my life, because I was a biker back in
I know.
in my 20s. Okay. So I always joke about, you know, a purple Electra Glide fully dressed, right? Which I really don't want, but it's fun to joke about.
Yeah.
If I'm wanting that, and I ask for that, and I'm not sure how to ask this, but how does that fit in with being open to having our helping spirits move us in the direction we need to go. Is that desire for a Harley, and I'll use that as an example.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that desire for a Harley, is that coming from my ego, or is that coming from, I would really be spiritually enhanced if I were on a purple Harley Davidson electric glide fully dressed? You know, I mean, where does that, in our consumerist society, we're conditioned to want things to replace, I don't know, maybe some emptinesses, I don't know, but we're just conditioned to always want.
So I think what I'm hearing is, what are you feeding? You know, what are you feeding your soul? Yeah. If your soul isn't being fed appropriately, if your true self, some people call it your authentic self, your soul isn't being fed, then that you're looking for things to feed that, and that's never going to be replaced. So I agree with that. The way I come from it is, I'm giving that assumption you are feeding your soul, but you have a right to have fun in this life. Just because we're spiritual, just because we leave, that doesn't mean we don't have a right to have fun. And it doesn't
mushrooms down there giving a thumbs up on that.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean that if your fun, if that just brings you total joy into your soul, do it. Ask for it. I see so many young women, and to me, young is between 30 and 50.
Yeah, I just turned 70. I'm looking at,
well, like I'm going to be 70 kids soon, so that's young.
Years to the 70s.
Yeah, and so I see that, and they come to me and they say, well, that's not being spiritual. I said, why isn't it?
Right.
We have a right to be happy. In fact, that's why we're here. We're here to be happy.
Right.
We're not here, in the north direction. We have the north direction, and this, of course, is part of my Peruvian shamanism. The north direction is a little inti, which is the hummingbird. And the hummingbird is the architect of that direction. And from that, we want to learn how get our lessons through happiness and laughter and love. We don't always have to get our lessons through pain and sorrow.
Right.
And so your questions were very good. And I hope I answered it, because I agree wholeheartedly. To answer your other questions, my students are different ones. Thank God for the internet and messaging and texting, because I get questions like that daily, and I get back to them within. In my past life, in my professional life, I had a 24-hour rule. I would get back to you in 24 hours, no matter what. And that was sometimes I went, why did I say that? But anyway, I don't have that same lifestyle now. So I can, I will get back to them within 24 hours.
Does anybody have any questions, or is anything coming as you're listening to this? If so, just pop on. Mushroom,
Well, I'm going to speak to this whole idea of having fun and being joyful. We have this tremendous amount of delightful energy when we're happy. And by the same token, we have this kind of cloud when we're not, when we're upset, so when we are happy, it's really our responsibility to share that. And so you were talking about the Harley. I was a biker for years, and there's a tremendous amount of joy of being on a bike out there on the open road where there's nobody else around,
You're
and
killing
especially
it,
when,
mushroom.
you know,
My husband was a biker, so I can really relate to all of this.
you know, but the whole idea is that we, at that point, it becomes a connection with your true spiritual self. You are connected in the immediate moment. You know, if you go to any elementary school on a playground when it's recess, what do you hear? Laughter.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, because that's our natural state. And as we become adults, we get so hung up on what is important, or what we think is important, you know, about appearing important, appearing adult. And I go to the grocery store and I see like even a 10-year-old will be laughing and jumping and twirling, totally oblivious to anybody else making any judgments. They're not concerned about they are
Right.
completely in the moment. And then I can't help but to feel good when I see that, because
Yes.
I'm feeling their joy. And that's our
Yeah.
responsibility.
Yeah.
You know, so if you want a Harley Davidson, if that gives you that joy, go for it.
And that's what
Oh,
I was
dear.
very, very, thank you. You said that really well.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I could
Exactly.
go for a trike, but you know, a Harley at this time of my life, it would just be too much. You know, it would just be
You
too
could
much.
still wear your purple things and let them blow. You know, laughter is good,
Yeah,
and
it is.
that is another thing out of the East direction, to learn to laugh at our
Mhm.
own mistakes. Because what are mistakes? They're just
They're
lessons.
just, yeah.
You know, they're just a stepping stone to the next. There's not any of us here on this earth who hasn't made a mistake. I mean, don't get so down that you can't pick yourself up and move on.
Yeah.
And
We
and
had
learn,
a real quick.
learn
We
to
had a
laugh at
sister.
ourselves.
We had a sister Maria in our congregation. I'm a former nun. We had Sister
Uh-huh.
Maria, and her little go-to comment was, "Well, you know, you're almost perfect." I love
Well,
that.
and it makes you feel good. And
Yeah,
when we laugh, what does that do? It raises the vibration, not
exactly.
only within you, because when
Everywhere.
it spreads out and
Yeah.
around you.
Yes.
So you know, that's that's a good thing.
Hmm.
Laughter and having fun. And some people believe that they can't be spiritual and have fun.
Right.
I mean, I see these students coming in. They're really mixed up. They're looking, they're searching,
Hmm.
and they go, "Really?" I mean, I just want to laugh myself, but I don't, because uh, you know, the, their concept is really not what we're trying to spread, you
Right.
know.
Right. And you
And
know, Sandra, I don't think I've ever been in a workshop where she hasn't spoken to this concept that, you know, true shamans are really joyful people,
oh,
you
absolutely.
know, and,
Remember Lama Wangdu?
oh my gosh, yes. Betsy was smitten by that guy.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
yes.
he was so joyful and
Yeah.
laughing. And you know,
Yeah.
Bola laughs.
Hmm.
He you know, we're not, I'm not saying that there isn't that person that sits on up on the hill and meditates, and there may be, and that may be their way, but but not to matriculate into society. You're
Right.
supposed to, you know.
And who's to say that that mystic on the mountaintop isn't chuckling his or her head off up until the point where somebody gets to the top of the mountain and all of a sudden, yes,
Yes.
and then laughing all the way down the
All
mountain.
the way down. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But that you're right. The concept of you know, when we're feeling joy, and when we radiate anyway. You know, when we're
Yes.
radiating that joy, that does impact and heals really the environment around us.
Yes.
It's a higher vibration,
Uh-huh.
you know. Yeah. And the shamans that I know uh, are very joyful in the midst of, uh, in some cases, tremendous suffering.
Yes.
But
Yes.
they radiate the joy, you know,
Yes.
and it doesn't negate all the other aspects of life.
Yes.
But what's radiating is that joy and that love and compassion. And
Right.
that heals. That's what heals.
That's what heals. And
Yeah.
that is what's important. And
Yeah.
what's important is if we feed, uh, when we feed our soul,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
and so if it's that Harley and that feeds your soul, I say go for it.
Oh, no, no.
Ah,
Gotta be purple. I could do a trike. If anybody's got a
okay.
trike out
Right.
there, you know, I can do a trike. But a regular Harley, just getting it up on its two wheels would be tough for me at this point. You know, I was a Beamer queen back in the day.
Ah.
Yeah, that was my bike of choice. Was
Oh,
the old, you know, the black. I don't know if you're familiar with black BMWs with the white
yes.
striping. That's
Uh-huh.
yeah, I had one of those.
Ooh.
Oh, that was great. Yeah. But anyway, good memories.
Do you still drum
Oh,
on the
yes.
big drums?
Oh, yeah. I've got a set of drums in the garage. And yeah, so I get on those occasionally. Hmm.
Well, that's great. That's another wonderful way of transporting somewhere.
Oh, my gosh. Yes. I
Yeah,
love it. I
yeah.
took up electric guitar 2 years ago and,
Oh,
you know, and learning blues. So
uh-huh.
it's
Yeah.
also fun. Yeah. Does anybody have anything to add? Let me see if you want to type in a question. I lost my glasses. Oh dear. I am, you know, I could turn the camera down. You could see this desktop, but it would just be catastrophic.
Mushroom, did I
Yeah.
saw, uh, I think this is my first time. I've never done anything like this before. So I was like, I had to get over my fear, and then I really had to push through my what do you call my security here. But
Hmm.
anyway, you asked, did you want the author's name of a book?
Yes, I was asking about Jamie Fan because I'm not sure
It's
how to spell it.
Jamie. It's Jaime, and it's Sans. I'm sorry, Sam. Sam.
All right.
Yeah, Annette's asking, is it possible to put the title of the books and the author on website? What I can do, Annette and
I
anybody
I
else,
can do it and send it to you. Is that
if you'll send it to me, I'll put it
yeah?
on shamanzoom.com
Okay.
by your bios.
Okay.
I can add that
Yeah,
supplemental
I'll
information.
definitely, because there's a couple of books that I mean, if anyone is interested in what we've been talking about,
Yeah, just send them
uh,
to me and I'll make sure that gets on there.
sure, sure, I
Hmm.
can do that, no problem.
Yeah, yeah. Anybody else have any questions? Any thoughts? Katie, is there anything that you wanted to answer that I have not asked yet?
Oh gosh, no.
Okay.
I, um, you know, I've just had, uh, I'm just real, I just feel real fortunate. I had a great life and it's not even close to being over. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so yeah.
For practitioners who are listening to this, or just anyone who listens to
Right.
this, either right now or later on, um, what is one seed of advice that you could give for people to navigate these times?
Well, as a practitioner, I would say gratitude,
Hmm.
humility, and learning. and this is, and if I may, I'll just explain that a little bit. A gratitude journal is great. And I have a saying that through those really dark times that come, the dark nights of the soul that come to us, gratitude is that safety net that will save us. Because, you know, we're going to go through things no matter what. It's how we look at it, it's our focus on it, and what we can draw from it. Learning, that came a couple of years ago, to be grateful to what we learn. And so in my gratitude journal of journeying, I try to every day look for something I learned. In other words, oh, I wasn't quite aware of that. Doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be spiritual. It doesn't have to be, or something I saw. I do my very best to do that, and I think that as time goes on, that can be very helpful in a time of fear and unknowing. We are not in control of what's going on, and that brings out the reaction of fear. And then from fear, we go to our self-worth and the law, and we spiral down. We need to spiral up with faith, surrendering, and continue to do what we do daily. In other words, if whatever your spiritual practice is daily, continue to do it. Get outside. You may feel really depressed. You may feel horrible. Just go outside, sit in a chair, and focus on a bird, focus on a tree, focus on a plant, focus on a rose, focus on something. And I guarantee you in 20 minutes, you will come back inside and have a whole different outlook. It will help.
Yeah, you know, it impresses me that maybe right now, globally, we're in a dark night, because in dark nights of souls, I'm hoping that's an old paradigm construct.
It is.
And I'm hoping in the new paradigm, the language will shift in describing that phenomenon. But, you know, in dark nights, everything is stripped away.
Yes.
Everything changes.
Yes.
You're left with absolutely no anchor, no grounding whatsoever.
Right.
And that's a powerful initiation for us that brings us into the next level, if that's the right word, of our spiritual growth. So maybe right now, globally, you know, our species is going through a dark night of the soul. And when you were talking about sitting and just focusing on, say, a tree, what really the image I had was, when you're focusing on that tree, you are connected.
Yes.
And it may not feel that way, but the connection it's never not there, even during a dark night.
Yeah.
The connection is never there. The memory of that connection isn't.
Yes.
You know? So
yes.
You know, I just really I'm gonna journey on that.
Good. And it can also be a dismemberment. I don't know the people which is what's happening. Old paradigms, old institutions, everything's crumbling, and but out of chaos, what happens?
Right.
That's when this golden time comes.
Yeah.
So
listen, Mushroom typed in the Zoom thing. If you see me looking this way, I'm looking at the chat window. Okay. He says he has a coyote spirit poem that might fit into the conversation. Mushroom, do you want to share that?
Sure. It's a short poem, but I think it's relevant to what we're talking about. because when I do poetry, sometimes Coyote pops in,
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
and so we play together. So here goes. It's called the Coyote's de-anger dance.
Ah.
Coyote laughs at me, tossing up his snout when I yell at the morning news. I glare, stop ruining my mad. He laughs harder as he runs around, and then I feel him goose me. I can't help but to laugh. You should take a picture of your face, especially when you are stressed, angry, and especially when you are furious. Although I have not seen your furious face for years, I laugh whenever I think about it. My face is hot. He lifts one leg up and pisses on a photo of my angry face. You've got to learn to piss on it and laugh at yourself. Hell, I laugh at myself all the time. You pissed on my face, I yell. His mischief giggles. You take your turn. Ain't life hilarious? It really is. I crack a smile. More and more, don't stop there, Coyote coaxes and cocks his pointy-eared head. When you feel pissed off, piss on it and then dance. Coyote rolls over on his back, laughing, making me laugh too. I love how you dance. What? I stop and ask. Coyote twirls me around on his hind legs, goosing me again. You should dance more often. You can't dance and stay pissed. I can try, I say. Coyote howls. I love to dance with you, to dance through you. I love the sensual flow, the way your body undulates and sways to the music. I feel wonderful when you invite me. Thank you for that. I bow. He grins. I will reward you by showing you more things to laugh about. You give me so many opportunities.
Oh, that's
So
great,
that's Coyote
Ashley.
for you.
Thank you very much.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful. Very apropos for now.
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is there anything else, Katie, that you would like to add to this?
I just thank you for the opportunity. And as you know, when you asked me, I almost had a heart attack because I was totally out of my comfort zone. But so thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you very, very much. And also, I just want to say, I actually recorded this. Last week, we had Lena Swanson on,
Uh,
and I forgot to turn the recorder on. So she is coming back next week, and we're going to do Lena Swanson part two. This recording will be available either later today or tomorrow,
mhm.
and it will be on shamanzoom.com. Also, Katie's going to email me the book titles and any other information, Katie, that you feel like you'd like to
Okay.
share with folks, and I'll put that on shamanzoom.com.
Okay.
There's a donate button on that website. If you'd like to send $5, it really helps keep this going. Um, uh, I won't get into the expenses of putting this program on, but any help is helpful. And so thank you. And Katie, blessings to you for being on today. That was great. Thank you.
Well, thank
Mushroom,
you.
love you too. And
Nice meeting all of you.
and everybody, yeah, folks that are tuned in right now, and also people who will be listening in later.
Right.
You can always access these programs on shamanzoom.com and on YouTube. But I have to admit, I don't know how to do it to log it on to YouTube if it's not me.
Yeah.
So if you just go to shamanzoom.com, you can access all of these conversations. Okay. Everybody have a wonderful, wonderful day. Stay safe, stay well. Let's keep that energy up.
Yes.
And yeah, that hard energy. And, we are the people who we have been wanting to come into the world today to change things. And now we have this tremendous opportunity. And so let's just be out there and, send that love, radiate that love and that compassion. And just know that we are all held beautifully and wonderfully in the arms of our Creator.
Right.
And so thank you, Katy, for being here, and y'all have a great, great day. Take
You
care.
too, and thank you.
All right. Bye bye. Live long and prosper. Bye bye.